Chapter 1. He sees me. Charlie dropped to her hands and knees. She was wedged behind a row of arcade games, cramped in the crawl space between the consoles and the wall. Tangled electrical cords and useless plugs strand between her. She was cornered. The only way out was past the thing. She wasn't fast enough to make it. She could see him stalking back and forth, catching flickers of movement through the gaps between the games. There was scarcely enough room to move, but she tried to crawl backward. Her foot caught on a cord. She stopped, contorting herself to carefully dislodge it. She heard the clash of metal on metal, and the front console rocked back against the wall. He hit it again, shattering the display, then attacked the next, crashing against them. That was it. Almost rhythmically, tearing through the machinery, coming closer. I have to get out. I have to. The panic thought was of no help. There was no way out. Her arm ached, and she wanted to sob aloud. Blood soaked through the tattered bandage, and it seemed as though she could feel it draining out of her. The console a few feet away crashed against the wall, and Charlie flinched. He was getting closer. He was getting closer. She could. Sorry, guys. She could hear the grinding of gears and the clicking of servos even louder. Eyes closed, she could still see the way he looked at her, see the matted fur and the exposed metal beneath the synthetic flesh. Suddenly, the console in front of her was wrenched away. It toppled over, thrown down like a toy. The power cords beneath her hands and knees were yanked away, and Charlie slipped, almost falling. She caught herself and looked up just in time to see the downward swing of a hook. Welcome to Hurricane, Utah. Charlie smiled wearily at the sun and kept driving. The world didn't look any different from one side of the sign to the other, but she felt a nervous anticipation as she passed it. She didn't recognize anything. Then again, she hadn't really expected to. Not this far at the edge of town, where it was all highway and empty space. She wondered what the others would look like, who they were now. 10 years ago, they'd been best friends. And then it happened. Everything ended, at least for Charlie. She hadn't seen any of them since she was 7 years old. They had written all the time as kids, especially Marla, who wrote like she talked, fast and incorrect. But as they got older, they had grown apart. The letters had grown fewer and further between, and the conversations leading up to this trip had been perfunctory. I can't say the word. Wait. Perfunctory and full of awkward pauses. Charlie repeated their names as though to assure herself that she still remembered them. Marla, Jessica, Lamar, Carlton, John, and Michael. Michael was the reason for this trip after all. It was 10 years since he died, 10 years since it happened, and now his parents wanted them all together for the dedication ceremony. They wanted all his old friends there when they announced the scholarship they were creating in his name. Charlie knew it was a good thing to do, but the gathering still felt slightly macabre. Sorry guys, I'm kind of bad at reading. She shivered and turned down the con it's I'll just spell it out. I cannot say the word condedication. No, it's CONDITIONING. Sorry, I can't read that. Even though she knew it was not the gold. Oh, okay, yay! Okay, I can read it. It's down the air conditioning, even though she knew it was not the gold. As she drove down into the center, Charlie began to recognize things. A few stores in the movie theater, which has now advertising the summer's blockbuster hit. She felt a brief moment of surprise and smiled at herself. What did you expect? That the whole place would be unchanged? A moment to the moment of your departure, frozen forever in July 1985. So this book might be taking place in 1985. Well, that was exactly what she had expected. She looked at her watch. Still a few hours to kill before they all met up. She thought about going to the movie, but she knew what she really wanted to do. Charlie made a left turn and headed out of town. 10 minutes later, she pulled up to a stop and got out. The house loomed up before her, its dark outline a wound in the bright blue sky. Charlie leaned back against the car, slightly dizzy. She took a moment to steady herself with deep breaths. She had known it would be here. An illicit look through her aunt's bank books a few years before had told her that the mortgage was paid off and that Aunt Jen was still paying property taxes. That's where I'm going to stop because I don't want the video to be too long. I will do part 2. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.